Hi, this is Frode and welcome back to Actualize Notes TV. Today we have another great book, Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown. Braving the Wilderness, subtitle, The Quest for True Belonging and the Courage to Stand Alone. I read this one on Kindle, so I don't have the physical copy. And Brene Brown is a research professor and multiple times New York Times bestselling author who has studied courage, vulnerability, shame and empathy for over 16 years. And since I loved her book Daring Greatly so much, which we'll already featured, and I chose to cover this book and try to do it in 24 hours. So when I saw that the book was coming out on Amazon, I scheduled the date it was coming out in my calendar, bought it yesterday, read it yesterday, woke up this morning, created a 6-page PDF where I riff on the ideas and reflected on how we can apply them to our lives, and recorded it, and now we're here. And I think we're at the last hour of our 24-hour mark. Fun challenge. If you want to create true belonging and the courage to stand alone, I think you'll dig the book. And we will dive into 5 of my favorite practical big ideas right now. We'll begin with, what is the wilderness? And the wilderness is Brene says that there are a lot of musicians, artists and poets have used the metaphor of the wilderness to explain this dangerous land and terrain which oozes of uncertainty. But it can also be this land of true beauty. And the best way I know to describe the wilderness is with the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell, a mythologist, he kind of made it his mission to read a ton of stories and try to figure out what was the main characteristics that went through all of those stories. And to give you a perspective on how much he worked, he read for 9 hours every single day for 5 years. That's a lot. And the conclusion he came up to was that all of these great stories through the ages are pretty much characterized by a hero's journey. You have a hero or a heroine, I think heroine, if that's the right way to pronounce it, who has to walk into the forest or the wilderness, where they will face a lot of challenges, their personal inner dragons like fear, shame, guilt, and resistance. And when they overcome those dragons and battle them, they become much stronger and they discover certain treasures in those barren lands, in the wilderness, which they have to bring back to their community so they can also benefit from them. And that's kind of what the wilderness is all about. And in her book, Daring Greatly, she introduces the book with a great quote from Theodore Roosevelt. It was actually a speech from, which is called, many call it the man in the arena. And I think it's a great description of the wilderness. So let's just find it. It is this. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. Short interpretation of that, there will be criticisms when you give yourself to the world through your work and through who you are, when you have other opinions and beliefs than other people. But it's not the critic who counts, it's the one who is actually in the arena, the wilderness, marred by dust and sweat and blood. So that's the wilderness. Are you venturing out to it, or are you trying to stay a bit too comfortable? Next big idea is braving it. The wilderness, that is. How do you brave the wilderness? Brene says, in short, that it's to create intense trust in ourselves and others. And we do that through an acronym she calls BRAVING. And that is aptly named. Let's go through each of them. Here are the ways of braving the wilderness, creating intense trust in yourself. We need boundaries. Do you have clear boundaries for what you allow yourself to do and what you're not going to do? Reliability. Do you have awareness over your competencies and your limitations so as not to overcommit yourself and not be able to keep your promises? Accountability. Can you admit your mistakes and make amends to make things better? Vault. When people tell you secrets, do you tend to keep them or do you tend to share them just because they're so juicy? Integrity. When you go through your individual choices day by day, do you often choose courage or do you choose comfort? In short, as Abraham Maslow says, we want to perform the growth choice, the courage choice in most of our decisions. The ideal is all of our decisions, instead of a safety choice where we step back into safety instead of forward into growth. And non-judgment, can you ask for what you need of other people? And when they tell you their feelings or when you feel something, can you observe them without judgment, as if something is wrong with you or them? And generosity. Can you interpret the intentions, words and actions of other people and yourself generously, as if their intentions and actions are good? That's a quick look at braving. You can check out the book for more. And we have now been braving the wilderness, and we'll go on to true belonging. And let's look at the definition of belonging. I wrote it down here in my mind map. Brene says, true belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. So true belonging means that you can express your authentic self to the world and be yourself instead of changing who you are. Even though we want to change ourselves for the better, it shouldn't be a requirement in our connection with other people. And then she makes the distinction between belonging and fitting in. So we have belonging and fitting in. This we can take this right out of the definition. Belonging means that you don't have to change who you are. You are the person you are, and your family, friends, and community will accept you for it. Fitting in means that you have to be like them in order to be accepted. And even then you won't experience deep levels of connection, because you're really not expressing your authentic self, which is, as I know, the best way to connect. You might feel this empty feeling while being with your friends, because they won't accept you if you're not like them. And that's really true belonging, expressing your authentic self. And we also talk about this in Emerson's Self-Reliance and Abraham Maslow's The Farther Reaches of Human Nature. So you can check out those if you'd like. Fourth big idea is loneliness. We have loneliness. Yes. Do you often experience loneliness? I know that I have been doing that sometimes because I don't have many friends that I hang out with regularly. But Brene makes the distinction between loneliness and being alone. Physically, that is. So loneliness is the feeling you have, which is, as you might have noticed, not very comfortable. And being alone means you're just physically alone, but you might still be happy. So introverts often don't have the feeling of loneliness when they're being alone. They can actually feel most alone, including me, when we're with other people. It's quite strange how that works. And then we feel happy when we're alone again. And Brene is also an introvert, she says. And when she is around other people and feel lonely, she calls it the lonely feeling. It's the feeling you have when you're not really connected to other people and you might feel, as we said, alone with other people. And there's really a warning she gives, that or loneliness is really a warning sign. Just like food or hunger tells you that you need to eat food, thirst tells you that you need to eat water in order to not be dehydrated. In the same way, loneliness is a warning sign that you need to find social connections. And this can be really simple. She says that what's important is that you don't need to have long periods of interactions of hours and months with people to get rid of your loneliness. But small micro moments of connections is enough. Just saying hi to someone, giving looking in the eyes of a stranger, or shaking someone's hand, giving a high five to someone. And Barbara Fredrickson, a researcher on emotions, actually shares the same idea in Love 2.0. She says that it's more important to find opportunities to love, small micro moments throughout the day, instead of having these intense and long moments of connection. So how are you doing in this? How can you decrease your loneliness? Finding some small micro moments to connect with people, anyone, strangers. And fifth big idea. This was a really moving one. Brene's the basic idea is that if we express our hate to other people, we only hurt ourselves and we don't get anything out of it. And she shares this story about a man whose wife was killed in a terrorist attack. I think it was in Paris or somewhere else. And over 80 other people got killed. And that man, 2 days later, shared a post on social media to the terrorists. It was a public post. And he didn't know who they were, but he wrote something in the lines of this. You have killed an extraordinary human being, the love of my life, the mother of my son, but you will not have my hate. And he goes on longer, and in the end he says that he's got to get his son back. He's got to get his son because he's waking up from a nap, and he will get his snack. They will play like they do every single day, and his son will be happy, even though he doesn't have a mother, because the terrorists will not have his hate either. They will not drop down to the level of ignorance that those people who killed his wife had to have in order to do that thing. And this reminds me of a big idea I learned at the Vipassana meditation course with S. and Goenka. And imagine that someone comes up to you and starts screaming at you with anger and throw all these tantrums and insults. That is pretty much like someone coming and presenting you with a present. And you can either choose to accept it and get angry back yourself and start hurling hate at them and experience all of the bad emotions and make the situation worse, or you can simply say, I do not accept your present, and choose not to throw anger and hatred at them. That's much more powerful. And Marcus Aurelius also echoes this in Meditations. He is an ancient Roman philosopher and emperor. He says, actually I'll say the quote. Find the quote. Just need to find it in my mind map right here. We're running pretty long today, but I love this book and it was really good. So I have a lot to share. His quote is, "Whatever anyone does or says, I must be good. Just as if an emerald were always saying this, whatever anyone does or says, I must still be emerald and keep my color." So even though other people are angry and impulsive and ignorant, we must still choose to be good. How can you do that more today? You will not have my hate. Loneliness. There is a difference between loneliness and being alone. Loneliness is not a good feeling and doesn't bring happiness, but being alone might bring happiness. Especially if you're an introvert. True belonging? True belonging means expressing your authentic self and being accepted for it. Belonging? That's belonging. And fitting in means simply being the same as everyone else. In other words, conforming. Braving it, boundaries, reliability, accountability, vault, integrity, non-judgment, and generosity. We want to develop the trust in ourselves and others to brave the wilderness, which is kind of like the man in the arena, or the hero's journey, venturing out into the unknown forest, like I did in this video. Okay, what's the number one idea that jumped out at you? that most resonated with you? And how can you apply that idea more to your life starting today? What's the one simple step? Okay, get on that. That's a quick look at Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown. Totally loved it, and I highly encourage you to read it if you like true belonging and the courage to stand alone. Our next book will be Unlimited Memory by Grandmaster Kevin Horsley, if I remember correctly. We'll do some books on learning. Really excited about that. For now, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you'll have an awesome day, and let's actualize so we can change the world together. See ya.
Hi, this is Frode. You might know me from the work I do on YouTube, but I also want to tell you that you can gain access to a ton of more wisdom at my website, actualizer.me. And here, I focus all of my energies on answering the question, how can I help you actualize your life on a day-to-day basis? Because I know that even though you want to actualize your life and develop yourself, you're too busy to read all day. And that's why I'm all about sharing wisdom made practical. Fun, inspiring, and practical wisdom you can apply to your life immediately. And I do it through something I call actualized notes, which include big ideas from 100 plus of the best and most transformative books on optimal living. It's notes from a fellow actualizer who wants to embody and help you embody these ideas more consistently in your life. And these actualized notes include 100 plus practical PDFs, which is 6-page PDFs with condensed wisdom ready for use. These are recorded into 100 plus MP3 guides, because all ANs are recorded as MP3 so you can actualize on the go. I also create 10 to 20 minute ANTV episodes, which I upload on YouTube. And these are again converted into MP3 files so you can get access to them on the Actualized podcast. And all this work includes over 750 big ideas from ancient philosophers, modern scientists, and your own common sense, explained for easy use. You can gain instant access at my website, actualizer.me, and you can get a free 30-day trial, and then it will be $10 per month. You can cancel it whenever you want, and I price the membership program so low, so you can tap into practical wisdom no matter how you're standing financially. Alright, I hope you'll join me on this hero's journey of actualizing our potential. See ya.